Okay. Call this meeting the Ad Hoc Policy Committee to order. First item on the agenda will be a pledge of allegiance. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next we have approval of the agenda.
No, I know she's not. She has a
I move that
personal.
we approve the agenda.
Okay, second, all in favor, 2-0. Please note that in attendance we have Mr. Strivinger, Dr. Quads, Mr. Earl Campbell, members present from the committee, myself and Mr. Melvin Campbell, and Dr. Rodriguez, and Wendy Carpenter here for the administration. And Rachel Jones is here
Here for fun.
for the meeting. Okay. We will proceed in the media with notified. We'll skip over the minutes. There's no public comment. Did you want to say anything, Rachel?
I'm
No?
okay.
All right. So the continuation of the policy review will pick up at 3.8, Roman numeral 4. B, district employee conflicts of interest. Rather than having reading one, I just wait a moment while you read through A, and then we'll see if there are any questions about section A. Any question? B. Questions? C. Any questions? Wow. Yes, Wendy.
Would you like me to send to all the members of the committee and everybody here under the Ethics Act, that if you leave employment, that there's that cooling off period of the year for any matter which
Oh,
whether direct and
yeah,
substantial,
that's
direct
really good,
and
yeah.
substantial involvement.
Okay.
I don't know if you
Why don't we go, and when we finish E, we'll,
Okay. I can run back to my office.
oh, do you want to add that, you suggesting we add that to C?
But I want for the commit, it's up to you all, I just wanted to mention that.
Okay, there's a cooling off period. If an employee leaves the district, they have to wait a year before.
If it's I think the statute says a direct and substantial involvement. With matter. So in other words, if you were working in finance and you were offered employment with another company, then you could be involved in anything that had to do with Beaufort County School District for a year. I mean, if that company, or say with construction, say you went to work for MB Con, then you could have nothing to do with anything that had to do with Beaufort County School District. You could even look at your file. Or for example, with me, I could not work on a certain matter that was an employee, a prior employee, was employee discipline matter. I could not work on it because I had a direct and substantial involvement in that matter. And even though it was more than 1 year, because I'm a lawyer, I couldn't be
Okay,
involved in it.
so that's a statute, right?
The Ethics Act, yes,
Okay,
sir.
why don't we just add the statute in?
Okay,
Verbatim.
and I can add that in and send it to everybody tomorrow.
Okay,
So would that become an E? Or is that gonna become E under,
in C,
That's
And
addition
see, I
to
could
C.
add it
in
in,
It's
addition
addition
to C?
Yes.
yep.
and I can give you that language tomorrow, Robin.
D. That's just not clear to me about other individuals for which a conflict exists. Oh, okay, I got it. Any questions on D? Going once. Okay. E. That's superfluous, but if it wants to keep it in there, that's fine. Okay? 4.1, the longest policy that we have in the manual. I would be much in favor of chopping this up a little bit. Roman numeral 1, I think is fine. A and B, it describes what happens. Okay? I think Roman numeral 2 is a little too detailed, or I don't see the necessity to have all this detail about filling out the card. To me, read and fully complete a public card comment and submit it to the board clerk ought to do it. I don't think it needs to be board policy that they will be on the desk 30 minutes before the meeting or,
That's not board policy, you're suggesting that we get rid of that 30 minutes?
well, I think that B is just,
I'm talking A.
A, I would stop at board clerk, okay?
And 1B, the 30 minutes needs to stay, you agree? Or else, some people will keep talking and complain that you got no policy.
But no, that's not the, that's not how long you can talk.
Well, that's our period.
That's the filling out a card. These sections on Roman numeral 2 are all about, well,
Not to see.
A, B, C,
Yeah,
and
that's
D.
our rules.
And E seem to be all about filling out the speaker card, which to me is kind of superfluous.
Can we ask Robin about how the past procedures have worked and what seems to be the most efficient way for the public comment?
People give their speaker cards during all the way during the whole 30-minute public, so it's not like they're there 30 minutes ahead of time. So they fill out a card, as soon as they get there, they fill out a card while we're in public comments, and they fill it up until it's over with.
Yeah, and the card is really self-explanatory.
These rules that we have.
The rules,
Are
this
these
is
our
what's on the
rules
card,
or
yeah.
these
These rules are
state
what's on the
rules?
card.
Yeah.
These state rules are our rules.
These are
Here,
our,
get a card.
So we could make it 30 and 30 if we wanted to.
So would anybody, no, would you object if we scrap, if we shorten A to read and fully complete a public comment card and submit it to the board clerk, and then scratch B, and C, and D. I don't think there's any reason to insist by policy that the prospective speaker's topic be on the cards, just to identify them as eligible citizens. Nobody ever does anything with the topic on it.
That's not accurate. That's not accurate, because Kathy Robine has been writing back every speaker, and it helps if the topic is actually on the card.
Yes.
Yeah, it's on the card, that's what I said.
No, you said it's superfluous, was I think the word
The
you used.
policy is superfluous.
The pol-
I think having it on the card.
Filling
is
out the
superfluous.
card, he agrees with, but
It ought to,
having
Kathy
a
ought to be
policy.
able to pick up on it and listening to the comment, but yes.
it's,
I just point out that if you're a member of the public and it's the first time you're gonna go to a meeting, you're gonna go right to this section.
So you'll know what to
And-
do.
And know what to do.
You might not know.
Just from my personal
Right, I agree.
experience.
My personal experience,
Right
in
to
this-
that
yeah,
section.
and my personal experience was I showed up in December of 2016. I had a card, I read it, I filled it out, and it was no big
Okay,
deal.
but I was talking about my personal. And I bet there's other people like that. So I don't see any harm in leaving this in, because the public goes out and looks at this stuff.
This is the information that it is put on the card.
Right,
but
it's
the
on the
policy
card.
is on.
There's
So
no-
if we change this, this gets what's changed on the card as well.
I just don't see any harm in having this in here.
Well, I'm not gonna make it, I myself am not gonna make a big deal out of it. Going to keep it on?
yeah, keep it on.
Okay.
Wait, not wait.
All right.
Fine, then, discuss.
F, a person may speak during each public comment period. That works. Speakers shall confine their comments to issues within the domain of the board. We want to change that to purview. I think the card said purview, doesn't it? Oh, don't go down and get one.
No, I'm gonna get one right here.
He's got it.
Or you get extra credit for
Do I
that.
get extra credit today?
Wow, you were the Girl Scouts?
Yes,
else you
I
got
was
in
a Girl Scout.
What else you got in there, Rob?
I got some agenda. These are the cards. This one again. So basically, we just took
Oh, it
what's
says
on
domain
here.
of the board, okay.
Yeah, so we just took what's the policy in here and put them on the back of the card.
On that second one,
You don't change it then, John, that's what you're saying.
We have the second comment card is yellow, so it's different, a little different.
but the wording is the same.
Yeah, they are, because I
Yes,
have to check
yes.
them. The blue ones.
On that second bullet, I thought that they could refer to board members by name.
Yeah, because here, look,
That's a First Amendment issue, they're supposed to be able to.
First member.
It's a restraint.
I know that we had that issue and we said you can refer to board members, because otherwise you'd say the representative from District Two.
Yeah.
So what's the difference? Just you
Yeah.
can use their name. So.
Yeah, I was
that-
checking on that
Change.
this weekend, and yeah, you're right, and it's,
So we might want to change that.
okay.
So change, in reference to specific individuals.
I got a suggestion.
Okay.
Why don't we just take this, okay, after we rework it, because there's a serious problem with the last sentence, why don't we take this and put this into the policy manual as the policy? Because this tells you everything that this tells you more succinctly. But while we're on the card, okay, for those who have been following the paper lately, the county sheriff has made it clear that he will not remove people from the meeting unless they've broken the law. Okay? And this statement on the card gives the chair much more leeway than a law violation to ask that a person be removed, okay? A person, what the sheriff is saying, and he has said this many, many times, is that I don't care if a board policy was violated, it's not grounds to have one of my deputies remove a person. And I think that was clear from his actions at county council. So we should not have, I think we've got to be careful about how we say that the chair may request the removal of the participant from the boardroom and district grounds by law enforcement.
You should do something in writing from the sheriff saying that I don't think what is what's in the paper. I realized what happened at county council, I was there. But,
What happened, Mr. Campbell? I wasn't.
Mr. Hoagland kept going on about what's going, the crooked people in the district, I mean, in the county, and the Hilton Head, what was the other one?
Letting us.
As luck would have it, Sheriff Tanner was in the audience.
Yeah, he was.
And so Chairman Rodman tried to have the guy removed, and Sheriff Tanner said, no way, he hasn't broken a law, I'm not gonna remove him. And I'm sure you recall, Mr. Campbell, that last year, we had a message sent over from the sheriff that said pretty much the same thing, that he wasn't gonna have people removed just for violating board policy or mentioning a name or things like that. They had to actually break a law.
Break a law, like disturbing the peace, that's not breaking the law.
Disturbing the peace, but that's a pretty subjective term when you're
Well,
balancing
that's
that against the
subjective.
First Amendment. If somebody starts yelling, are you gonna say they, while they speak? Are you gonna say that?
But you're disrupting, you're disrupting the orderly process of a meeting, that's disturbing the peace. I mean, I don't know how broad it can be, but when you're disrupting something that's already in place and got certain rules and regulations and you disrupt it, then, yeah, I think you're disturbing the peace.
But I think it's a pretty high threshold.
Well, you're right.
They're not bouncers. Mr. Dunkel educated us pretty well on this. They're not bouncers. There has to be a law violation. They do not take direction from the board. They do not take direction from the board.
Right.
You're talking with speakers?
No, the deputy, they do
Well,
not take direction from the board.
I'm saying the definition that Sheriff Tanner is applying,
Right.
that they're not breaking the law, have to be
But there's always
convinced.
discretion.
Yeah, that's
You're
discretion.
under 9 miles
But
an
the
hour.
law is the law, and he can't define the law.
But he does.
He enforces the law.
Okay, so Hoagland went beyond his allotted time, right? So is that disturbing the peace, or is that
No, he
nothing as far as the
He
law?
was-
what happened was it wasn't his time to speak. He just got up and started speaking, and Rodman told him, "Quit, stop it." And that's when he said, told the deputy to move him out of the room. And Tanner didn't say nothing. Tanner was sitting over on the other side. You know.
I believe the council had a rule that if that happens, immediate recess.
And that's what they did.
Yeah.
Oh, they had a recess.
Yeah.
Oh, until it calmed down.
Let's get back to our stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, well, I think that's illustrative of what we have to consider.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree.
So what are you suggesting?
I would
to do
suggest
with
that,
this?
first of all, for the card, we stop it at, for a period not to exceed 6 months. No?
I don't even see what you're talking about.
Hmm?
Period not to exceed 6 months.
Yeah, if a person is unruly.
I mean, we're saying that's not gonna count anyway, the way you guys talk. So 6 months, 2 months. I mean, We don't. Anyhow, whatever, John. Yeah.
Okay, so
So everything else after months, you want to delete?
on the card, I think
Yes.
the card is okay. As soon as we strike that, let's go back to see if it finds the policy layout. H, speakers shall not yield their time to the speaker. That's always been the practice. I don't, I've never seen if I try to do that.
I have.
Have you?
Yes. Amanda Walrod or Jody Shutek did
Yeah.
it like a meeting ago.
Really?
Recently, I
Yeah.
remember it.
Exactly.
I must have been in the men's room. I must have been in the men's room or something. All right. All right. Well, I'm glad they came. Speakers shall refrain from racial comments, obscenities, and vulgarities, shall not reference or make derogatory comments about specific individuals by name. That is problematic, I believe.
No, that's the same thing as on.
Obviously, they should refrain from racial comments. That's not problematic. Obscenities, obscenity is in the eye of the beholder, but vulgarities, that's okay. But shall not reference or make derogatory comments about specific individuals by name.
But if you look at the red portion, doesn't your red portion have?
Speakers may reference, oh, okay.
It says the opposite.
But such communications will not include gossip, defamatory words, or abusive and vulgar language. Okay, so the first sentence then has to be modified because it contradicts what's there. However, what are defamatory words? If you could, around here, historically, if you criticize somebody's job performance, they scream defamation, okay? And I've always believed that the definition of defamation is defamation of character, not criticism of someone's job performance. So I think it's awfully subjective to have defamatory words in there, because I don't know how you measure it.
Measure in a court of law,
Yeah, I don't think we can
that's where
measure
it
it.
gets measured.
Well, the presiding officer has to have some guidance. Okay?
Yeah, I'm just saying, if they think it's defamatory and it turns out it's not, that gets decided, it's decided in court. We're not gonna be able to decide it.
Since you
Well,
can't
then we
police
shouldn't
it.
have it in there.
Our students are watching us
Well,
too.
Huh?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
said our students are watching us. I mean, we have to think about our students and what we're trying to teach them and how
It is
they
a
should
business
treat
meeting.
others,
You know what?
how
It is a business
the
meeting. That's
decorum of the
whole idea. It's a
environment
business
was-
meeting. Yeah? I mean, just remember that. It's not a, fist fight out there or throwing foods or, it's a business meeting. So I think you've got to have some, I don't want to say restrictions, but some kind of policy. Maybe you should just say, so you got refrain from racial comments, obscenities, vulgarities, and then you could just cut out references to specific individuals by name, because I think that's in both places, on the card and there.
And in red, speakers can reference.
The red is talking, yeah, board members, the other is just talking
Yeah.
about individuals, could be other public individuals, right? Yeah. So,
Well, I, for one, don't advocate having a policy that's a roll of the dice as to whether we'll get sued or not. If we cannot define defamatory ourselves, we've got no business putting it into a policy. That's my view.
A lot of these policies we're gonna have to get rid of then.
I'm sorry?
So there's a lot of policies in here like that. I mean, I'm not on the
I
committee.
can't
Research.
I wanted to
Well,
look,
you
I don't think
just-
you just said defamation only applies to character. I don't think that's accurate. Unfortunately, I can't look it up because it's too slow in here, the internet. But I don't think,
Give me some other examples.
defamation would definitely apply to, defamation would apply to someone's, ability for their job performance.
Oh, come on.
Why do you say no to that?
Because there's nothing in the law that talks about defamation of job performance.
I'm not saying, you know, as an officer of the board, but I think you've limited defamation to, a too narrow a window, but I honestly can't look it up to.
I tend to agree with her on
I
that.
think you got a First Amendment issue.
Because, yeah, I mean,
I can look up defamation.
Robin's got a connection to you. I'm trying to look at.
Robin, whose computer is this one?
Yeah, that's been there
That's the
all
district.
day.
That's that one.
Yeah,
It's
for
in this
example,
room.
we
So
had-
just log in.
Oh, I can get, I can
okay,
look it up.
perfect.
For example, we had an advocacy group deliver an online petition to the board, and it was critical of the former superintendent. The superintendent leapt to his feet and said, "Oh, I don't think you better put that in the minutes because there could be a defamation suit on its way." Well, criticizing someone's performance is not defamation. I'm sorry.
if it's not accurate,
I can argue with you.
Yeah, but that's.
if it's not accurate,
Yeah, exactly.
Demeaning the good reputation of someone, slander or libel.
Yeah, but you know, you can say that somewhat, Roddy is not doing their job. How you know they're not doing their job? You're not, if the person that do that, they're not in the district hall every day. They don't visit the schools. A lot of those folks have never stepped in our some of our schools until we had this committee the other day. First time they were in our schools. They didn't know nothing about our school.
well, the question is how extensive using the word character. And if defamation means character assassination, I think that's what you're saying, then
I think
how
that
extensive is
anything
character?
outside job performance, I think could be considered defamation, but I don't think job
Yeah,
performance.
well, here, a defamatory statement is a false statement of fact that exposes a person to hatred, ridicule, or contempt. So it can be about your job performance. You may say, I didn't read the minutes, and I read the minutes. I mean, that's so simple, but that's fact. That's about job performance. It's not about character. And that's, you know, defamation.
Here's a legal dictionary. Any intentional false communication, either written or
Excuse me,
spoken.
wanna start that over again, Wendy?
It's right up there, too.
Correct.
Oh,
Yeah, right here, that's even. You are, I did that all by myself.
All by yourself.
He said, by accident. He said, yeah, it was by accident.
okay.
But I can't get Westlaw from here, so. Publish false, injurious.
Okay. You have to prove,
Limited character.
you usually have to show that there's been a statement that is all of the following, published, false, injurious, unprivileged. Okay, all of those things have to be met, that's the threshold, to be considered defamation.
Okay, we know that, but I mean, why would you put yourself in that precarious situation? Why would you, why would you allow that to be a possibility that could come back and somebody proves all of those things?
Business practice, character, financial status.
If the person has a good attorney, they will win. They will definitely win.
What I'm talking about is the ability of the presiding officer to shut down conversation that they don't like under the guise of a term that is being improperly utilized.
Yeah, let's go further then. Why would she do that?
I don't know, but you gotta have,
Because
you gotta have a vehicle in place to prevent it.
You're saying allow a person to go on and defame anybody they want to, right there in our meeting, and it's okay.
Dial up the county channel, watch some videos, okay? You'll see members after 2 or 3 words going, that's off point. Okay? Shut down conversation. The presiding officer should not have that ability. for something as fuzzy as a misapplication of the term defamation. And this is a policy, not a practice.
But now that we have the,
Huh?
now that we have the legal definition.
So,
I mean, we're splitting hairs over what should be definite. Now we have the legal definition, it's not a matter of interpretation
it's
anymore.
right there, making a false derogatory statement in private or public about a person's business practices, character, financial status, morals, or reputation. It has to be proven that it's false, and that the person either knew it was not true, or didn't care if it was not true.
Okay.
All right?
I
I think
she
that-
shut somebody down, let's use this example, she shut somebody down, that person felt like she was shut down without due process. And she says, okay, I thought you were defaming, and that person gotta prove that you weren't, not, we gotta prove that you was, if we shutting them down, right? We're the ones who now determining what the definition is, now she gotta prove that we got the wrong idea of the definition.
That person could come at us legally for abridging that person's First Amendment rights. If you're shut down for defamation, when what you said did not fit the description of defamation.
Who's gonna prove that it didn't fit? That's my point. Go ahead,
Exactly.
David. David's gonna.
So just remember that the board can overrule the chair also.
Hmm?
The board can overrule the chair. The chair says you have to cut it off. So another board member can say, no, we've done that in the past. No, let them speak.
That's right.
So it's not just the chair. The board
Well,
can always say,
that's true, that's true. A two-thirds vote on an appeal.
well,
Anybody
you know,
appeals the
we
chair's
haven't-
ruling.
We haven't done all that.
Chair has to allow a two-thirds vote of the full board.
We never did all that. We just had another board member say,
Yeah.
let them speak.
So,
So that it's not just the chair cutting the can.
No,
The full board has to.
I don't know if this is where, I guess we'll skip around.
I'll admit, I'm being very conservative, but I just don't like to have a word in there that doesn't mean what we want.
What you wanna put in there then?
But I mean, you talk about the person that has the right. You don't have a right to damage somebody. No one has that right to damage somebody, whether it's physical or with words. You don't have that right. You do it because you're nasty. You're hateful. That's why people do things they do.
Yeah. What somebody says may be in poor taste, it may be hurtful, but it's not illegal. And that's what we deal with in a public forum, is legalities, not social norms.
I just remind you, these are guidelines.
They're not
And
laws.
No, they're not,
They're
they're
not
rules.
Right, that's not a law.
Not laws. And this.
They're our laws, our bylaws.
Can I finish?
No, they don't want to point something out. They're our bylaws,
How come you don't follow the rules, John?
huh?
How come you don't follow the rules? This was put in by attorneys.
That's right.
Exactly.
It was.
It's the red line, so it was put in by the school board attorneys.
Right.
I defer to them.
Well, the thing is, it's trying to make it concise and direct. I mean, frankly, it's trying to protect the board too.
I mean, that's intent, that's my argument. It's our intent that we're protecting ourselves. Now, if you feel like we're stepping on someone's First Amendment right, then that person can be bothered. But when we think it's defamatory, then we should act on it like a responsible group. We shouldn't allow them to go on and say what they want to say and do much damage as they can do, and we just allow it to happen. Then that person is damaged out there in this public forum.
There's a couple of us in this room have been the subject of very inappropriate, damaging personal attacks, and the presiding officer never said boo about it.
But remember that the person that got
I'm
up.
sorry?
There was a woman, I'm not gonna say any names, but there was somebody that came up and made statements about you at that board meeting. I mean, that said things that weren't true.
And people called for both our resignations from the board.
But it was
Okay.
twisted
And
around.
that was not considered defamatory by the chair.
But obviously you felt it was, and you wanted some action. That's what we're talking about now.
No,
All right, yes.
no, I'm just going from experience,
Man, I
man.
hear you, I hear you.
Experience is what you get when you've been on the board for a while.
Yeah, but the experience is not what we're talking about. I'm talking about what you want now. What would you
What I
want to
want
happen?
is something legal.
Well, okay.
So you're saying none of this is legal?
Wendy,
Yes, sir. In committee.
can we get a legal opinion about whether having the word defamatory in there is proper?
Okay.
Now, just let me finish about what I was saying. Courts have, you talk about courts being the rule maker and breaker, right? Courts have held organizations responsible for not following their own bylaws, okay? These are bylaws. We have to follow them, so we have to be very careful about what we put in there. Okay, that's all I meant. Okay.
Okay, I'm done with that.
They're not guidelines. All right, so Wendy's gonna get back to us on that.
Okay.
No, J, no presentation by a speaker shall exceed 3 minutes. That's working, okay?
That's the only time I've asked somebody to sit down.
Huh?
That's the only time I've asked somebody to sit down. It was a
Yeah.
gentleman who was definitely
I mean,
exceeding.
sometimes that's what you gotta do, you know? Please, sit down
Yeah.
and shut up.
And Robin, it's helpful that you have the
Oh, the
time up
timer
there,
is
so
key.
they know that they're running out of time.
Yeah, it's key.
It's very important.
In our policy.
It's
Okay, so
there.
no one has an objection about that.
Now,
K, persons appearing before the board are reminded as a point of information that board members are without authority to act independently as individuals in official matters. Understand the board will not respond to speakers orally. Those questions may be directed to the board, but answers may be deferred pending proper background investigation and formal consideration or referred to administration. Well, that's a mouthful.
I think maybe, Don, can I have a suggestion for wording? Maybe persons appearing before the board should be aware as a point of information, or reminded sounds like we actually speak up and say it, but it's, you know,
Okay. Before the board should be aware.
aware. Right.
And cross out our reminded.
Exactly.
Aware.
Should be aware.
Without authority to act independently. And that the board will not respond to speakers orally.
That's, well, because otherwise you're,
That don't, I mean, yeah.
well, that's the way it's been, because otherwise, is it fair to respond to?
Oh, I don't have an
No, I don't
objection.
have a
Ms.
problem
Smith,
with
but
not
not Mr.
responding to
Jones?
what
No,
it
what
says.
I was saying is perhaps we could take out a couple of words
Make
here.
a sentence.
Oh, okay.
That's all I was saying.
Understand the committee will not respond to speakers orally.
So it would read, persons appearing before the board should be aware as a point of information. That board, we can even
We
take
can
out.
come out as a
Yeah,
point of
you can come out
information,
as
I
a-
need that.
Persons appearing before the board should be aware that board members are without authority to act independently and that the board will not respond to speakers orally. Does that convey what we want?
I mean, here's
I
the
mean, there
question.
are other policies that talk about 2.2, section D, as a matter of fact, states quite clearly about members not being able to do anything by themselves.
All right, respond orally, does that give you the right to respond written to a speaker?
That's right. Good
It's a
thinking.
question.
I would say yes, of course, because orally at the meeting means that we don't get into
Yeah, I
debate.
know what it
And then
means.
somebody speaking doesn't get as, it doesn't be interpreted as speaking for the board.
Mhm.
But if you want to write a letter to somebody, that's your privilege and,
Other than a thank you letter,
huh?
you're saying individually, as individual board members, or as a board, can we respond?
Individual, you're an elected official, you can respond to
wanna know
anybody in
both,
any way
John. I
that
wanna
you
know
want.
both. I wanna know the answer to both. Individually, okay, I got that right.
Yeah, these people can't tell you what to do.
As a board, do we have the right? Or is it appropriate?
Well, my answer to that would be yes, you have the right, but you can't speak for the board in the sense of you can't say, we agree with your sentiment or whatever. You can't say that as an individual. You know, even though you may agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, that's what I wanna know.
Yeah.
I know I can say that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's giving me the liberty to say that.
There's a standard
I mean,
disclaimer that a lot of people use.
And a future
In my
discussion
opinion.
from what was said,
Yeah.
can we agree on a response to a public comment? That's my question.
Oh,
As the
usually,
board.
I don't think it's ever happened. When's it?
I'm gonna read I. Look at
Yeah.
I.
I will tell you what.
There it is.
That's within reasonable? No.
Yeah, within a reasonable
Yeah.
time.
And Kathy Robine is doing that.
Yeah, but all it does is acknowledge.
It does, and what the topic was. And,
Right.
But
It
people, I
doesn't say
think,
you're, we don't agree with you.
no.
Right.
So on K,
But-
where are we?
My other
All right, now
comments,
that I've understand your question, the board can do anything it wants. It can, 3 weeks later can say, hey, I'd like to get on the agenda a discussion about some comments that were made, yada, 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 and have the board come to a collective decision. On the other hand, also, anybody can write to any individual, and the standard disclaimer is usually something like, speaking for myself.
Yes,
or,
yeah.
Or in my opinion.
so that it's clear you're not authorized by the
Right,
board.
right. Yeah.
Even if you didn't put that, you wouldn't obligate the board because of policy 2.2. Yes, David?
I just point out that the section you're in says rules for committee meetings. That's
Yeah,
the
that's
section
true.
you're in.
Well,
So you might wanna change,
No, we're in K. We're still in K.
oh, you're in, up
Yeah.
here? Okay,
we
I'll
skipped
change
to
it.
I.
It's
over there.
because the rules for committees is,
It's different.
I don't know why it's in there, because it's pretty
I know.
redundant.
Wrong
I
thing.
know. Okay.
Okay, all right, we'll get to that in a second. The board will designate a location for public comment.
Okay.
That, I take it, is so that someone can't have a seat in the back row and just stand up and start yelling their message. So that makes sense to me, okay? And then, within a reasonable time, after a board meeting, the board chair by his or her designee will acknowledge all speakers in writing. That's taking place, it's a good idea, okay?
I have a question.
Roman numeral 3.
John,
Mr. Dowling.
Oh,
so back on K, is the only, where did you decide to take everything out? Where did you land on that? I have persons appearing before the board should be aware that board members are without acting authority. Did you remove anything else in that paragraph?
It's 3.8.
To
But-
be prepared.
yeah, persons appearing before the board should be aware that board members are without authority to act independently, and also that the board will not respond to speakers orally. For those who weren't here, there used to be a response time. I forget what was it called? Correction,
Oh, yeah.
input correction.
Correction.
Comment correction.
Comment correction.
Comment correction, where
Or fact check.
anybody could take
Yeah.
offense at what was said,
Yeah.
and that didn't work out
Yeah.
well at all. Okay. Roman numeral 3, rules for committee meetings. I guess that's speaking at committee meetings. Reading, I would think that, it'd be understandable if we just said that public participation in committee meetings will follow the rules of public input at board meetings. Is that reasonable?
Or maybe limit it to one period too instead, just one 30-minute period as opposed to 2 periods.
Right now, yeah, we could change that if we wished, but it'd probably... Okay, how about rules for committee meetings? Public input will follow the rules for board meetings with the exception of that there is one public input period at the start of the meeting. Or is it really more valuable to have it at the end of the meeting, which gives people the chance to comment on what they've seen and heard?
We've been,
You usually have it at the beginning so that they can influence you.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's true.
Okay.
public comment.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't seen anybody write out a form yet, I mean, a card.
We've had it at finance committee.
Yeah.
To find
Yeah, that's
Yes.
what we do.
because,
Several.
We've had a few at the finance committee when they have filled out cards. And
We
we did-
have public, but they don't fill out a form and
Because you
They
changed your form,
participate.
you
Yeah.
changed your format at academic. At the academic committee, you have them as part
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
discussion, in the part of the discussion.
Okay.
So you've included them in the committee. At the finance committee, they come and fill out forms and speak.
I mean, we're not breaking rules in the academic committee. That's my question.
But the thing is, it is different in that committee because
Mhm.
there are members of the public there that are participating that aren't board members. When I was there with Mel the other day, I was wondering why that was happening. I mean, they had permission to speak, they
Chair,
were
that's
given
what the-
permission by the chair.
The chair allowed
If
it.
you
Chair allowed it, yeah.
Early on, the first meeting we had,
Became a
said
group
she wants-
discussion.
Yes, she wants group
So
discussion.
maybe,
They
if you
don't
want to
vote
be
it.
technical about it, is maybe once the academic committee should vote to suspend the rules. Bingo.
Suspend the
Suspend the rules.
policies,
Huh?
our rules or these
These
rules?
board.
Those
rules
are
for
your
committee
rules.
meetings.
I mean, our present rule of allowing people to speak or suspend the board's rules so we can allow them to speak.
Suspend the rules.
So we can allow them to participate. I think that's what she intended when she said that.
That's one remedy.
Yeah, that is not, yeah, it's
The
not
other
a
remedy
problem,
is
I
to
just
just do
wanna
what you
make
want until
sure.
somebody gripes
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Same
And we
thing.
better follow the rules.
The
We need
chair
to follow
has,
the rules.
well,
I mean-
I think the chair has the prerogative of being lenient or by the book. Unless a group discussion gets in the way of, I mean, this is practically a group discussion. Unless it gets in the way of the committee fulfilling its role, I would say that
If you all are board
But we're
members
board
there,
members.
you all are board
We're not,
members, and it's
this
your,
isn't the public
this is your
interjecting our
committee.
Okay, maybe it's covered further down,
Members.
maybe it's covered down in that section.
well, that's a very good point. Is
Yeah.
that okay, or is that advisable, or
You're
is it not
supposed to have a
advisable?
card according to this.
Yeah, according to
Yeah,
this,
it's supposed to have a
supposed to have a card and they're limited to those segments
those
that they can
parts of the
speak.
meeting, so you all can keep
Yeah,
on the
every-
agenda
I got
too.
an idea. Let's get down what we want in policy, and then the issue of is the academic committee following the policy? That's
Yes.
not for us.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're there now, we got something written now, right? And the question is, do
We
you
have a
wanna
policy in
write
effect.
something to accommodate what's not written that we're doing? Or do we have to haul it back in?
Yeah,
And
but
do
that's
what's
not for this
policy.
venue.
Huh?
That's not for this venue.
I know, yeah, I mean, but you're saying,
Yeah.
let's write a policy, well, that's the thought behind it.
Okay, so I'm moving that section 3, read that for committee meetings will follow the rules for board meetings with the exception that there will be one public comment period at the beginning of the meeting. Now, all I gotta do is run a check here to make sure that there's nothing different in the rules for committee meetings that there is for board meetings, but I don't think that there's anything.
So are the committee chairs writing to the, acknowledging the speakers? Are you doing I?
Well,
That's
both
a-
policies,
that's a-
okay, all right.
I don't think so.
It says the committee chair or his, her designee.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's
we
not
do
occurring,
it.
do you think? Or is it occurring?
We do it in
Okay.
our committee, yeah, Kathy does that.
Kathy does it for your committee too?
Whether or not they're following the policy, I don't think is the issue here, it's what we want to have for a policy.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Okay, is that all right with you, if we just
I agree.
reduce it to that one sentence?
mhm.
So you're taking
So
out
we're
A,
already
B, C,
No,
you're
no.
taking the rest of this out?
Because it's in already.
Because it's
That's what
already,
saying.
no,
It's
just
already in.
repeating
Okay.
everything from.
It scraps out everything,
And
and
we
just reads
Just
that
following the board
Committee meetings.
meeting
We'll
policy.
follow rules
public
set for
input
board
for committee
meetings.
meetings will follow the rules of public input for board meetings, with the exception that committee meetings will have one public input period at the beginning of the meeting.
Yeah, I agree with it. I don't, no point in rewriting the whole thing.
Of course, the chair of a
That's already
committee,
written.
like the chair of the board, has the option of altering the sequence of events on an agenda, so you could theoretically, if you wanted to, on a special occasion, have comments at the end. But I think that generally most people would prefer to see them at the beginning. If not, we gotta change the policy that allows, we just want it in sync with the board policy around. Because I think the chair ought to be able to mix it up. Okay, section 4, adherence to public participation expectations.
It's the same thing as
Yeah.
policy already written.
I don't see if there's anything wrong with asking someone to leave if they're really being obnoxious. And then, has anybody ever been barred from speaking?
I think many years ago,
Should we get skipped in for appearance?
Not recently.
Not recently,
No.
Test it? Okay. Okay, that section to me is okay. You will, okay.
Yeah, I suppose, I mean, we're not gonna get into that First Amendment thing again.
Now,
So, John, before you go on,
Yeah.
I really think you've got a problem still with 2K. I don't think you can take out, you said take out, you read, persons appearing before the board should be aware that board members are without authority to act independently and will not respond to speakers orally. That's different than saying what's actually here. Members are without authority to act independently as individuals in official matters. That's really that is, I
okay.
think, more
yeah.
accurate.
All right, so leaving it as individuals in official matters.
And the board will, I think.
Not respond to
respond
speakers
orally. And so
Oh.
questions can be directed to the board, but answers, are not gonna be
Yeah.
necessarily forthcoming right then and there.
Should we put, understand that the board or members will not respond to speakers orally? Or is that plain enough that the board, will they get the message that nobody on the board is gonna do it?
Well, I think hasn't William responded to, I think William said something to speakers or
Yeah,
thanked them or,
Yeah,
he has I'm pretty certain he
Okay,
has.
how about then, understand that the board, that neither the board nor individual members,
Okay.
because for the purposes of the meeting, you would be the board.
You don't need the word understand.
That night, okay,
Yeah, cut
got
out the word understand.
The board will not respond
it.
to.
The board The board nor its members, the board or its members will not respond to speakers orally.
Would it neither the board nor individual members, or, what did you say? First you said neither board nor individual members, and now you're saying,
Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah.
I think respond means clapping,
Yeah.
Oh, don't get me going.
or coming
Yeah.
down off the dais and hugging the speaker.
All right.
Yeah.
Is that a response?
That's
Yes, that's a
reasonable.
response.
So it's up to the chair to
Yeah.
reel that in,
Mhm.
right? Because we've had, as you know, we've had
Yeah,
instances. I do think it's inappropriate to clap for the speakers.
it's inappropriate to even do
Because if you
anything
clap for
that
one, you gotta
shows,
clap for all.
right, show
Yeah,
any
either
kind of
clapping
slightness.
from
in
the
it.
audience or clapping
Yeah.
from the board, I think
Yeah.
are equally
Yeah.
inappropriate.
Right.
It's not a rally.
so what do you think it should say there? Neither the board nor individual.
Should we put that in? Huh?
I just brought it up to,
Yeah, yeah.
because we've had, and then those are our responses.
They are. Mm-hmm.
And as you said, Will has responded.
I'm pretty certain you have, yeah.
I even responded to one speaker once and said Semper Fi because she said she was a Marine.
Yeah.
But you did say orally there,
Yeah.
that's,
So you might want to change that,
yeah,
not respond.
yeah,
Respond to speakers, period, and take orally out.
yeah, because if you
Good
said
idea, Mr.
orally,
Campbell. Mhm.
that's so many other options other than orally,
Right.
that would be inappropriate, yeah. I mean, I could jot down my notes. pass
Certainly,
it
the
to
audience
speaker.
breaking into applause every other sentence when they like the speaker is at least a breach of decorum, you know?
Yes.
But not unlawful.
Huh?
But not unlawful.
Okay,
Oh, my. I just had to give you that one.
5-1, board superintendent relationship.
It's all in red.
Ready?
Ready?
Okay, Roman numeral 1. The board believes its most important function is the formulation and adoption of policy. I'll go for that. The superintendent is to execute the board policies and promulgate with board review and input district administrative regulations consistent with and in furtherance of the board's policies. The board delegates certain executive powers to the superintendent to manage the schools within the board's policies and administrative regulations. This is one of those rare occasions when I'll give a shout out to the lawyer up in the School Board Association. That was, I think that's a good statement. Anybody?
That's good. That's
Okay.
totally accurate.
The board holds the superintendent responsible for the execution of board decisions, the operation of the internal machinery designed to serve the school program, and the provision of information to the board about school operations and problems. The operation of the internal machinery.
I'll write that.
Why don't we say the administrative function? We can say the superintendent would be pulling a lever. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, you can change that.
Okay, so we'd have responsible to the execution of board decisions, the operation of the administration,
Did you say administrative functions and everything, or not?
designed to serve the school program, of course it's designed to serve the school program, and the provision of information. Okay. How about if we have the board holds the superintendent responsible for the execution of board decisions, administration, execution of, no, shoot.
Administrative operation of the district. I don't know.
Is that administrative operation? The operation of the administrative function of the district, responsible for the execution of board decisions, the operation of the, no, take operation out. The board holds the superintendent responsible for the execution of board decisions, the administration of the district, and the provision of information to the board about school operations and problems. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, you can put administration
Hmm?
of regulations, I mean, that- in my mind. Read it again, Robin.
The board holds the superintendent responsible for the execution of board decisions, the administration and the provision of information to the board about school operations and problems.
The administration of the district operation, administration of the district's operation, and the provision of information to the board about school operations and problems.
I don't know why you need and problems there, but go ahead.
So you want to
Accurate
just put the
provision.
period at the end of operations and take in problems out?
I would take it out, because if he's providing us with information, we determine, you know, what the problems are, yeah.
Okay, Roman numeral 3. I think that's covered in about 9 other places.
Starts with,
It's a aspiration rather than. Or no kidding, Sherlock. I'd move we strike.
So take the whole thing out?
take it out,
Huh?
don't take it out.
Yeah.
Because, where's it covered somewhere else?
Honey,
Did you say it was, that was
superintendent's
addressed?
contract for one thing.
Where is it addressed about the sound work?
I mean, the relationship that exists between a board and a superintendent is an intrinsic part of the educational process within a community. No argument there, but it's not a policy. Okay,
Yeah, no comment, yeah,
all right, strike 3.
yeah.
Okay, 4, the board will do the following. We could say hire the superintendent, but
Yeah,
it's just as a thought, how about if we, no, scrap.
what's wrong with that?
No, nothing.
Might have glorified it
Okay.
unnecessarily.
Serve as the policy-making body, I'll buy that. Allow the superintendent to administer the schools. I know, I support that, but I think it's stated awkwardly. But I'd feel better if it said allow the superintendent to administer the schools within the bounds of established board policy. But it's not a biggie, as far as I'm concerned.
I think B covers that. I think once you say B, it's a part of it.
D, adopt an annual budget. E, exercise sound judgment in business affairs of the district. Move to strike.
Right, sound.
Huh? It's
The
an
word
aspiration.
sound, the word sound doesn't have a definition.
Huh?
Why? The
Why do I
word
wanna
sound, yeah, why do you want to say?
Because it's really superfluous. And it's an aspirational statement. Of course we want to do that.
Yeah.
professional, honest, straightforward, open, and above-board manner with the superintendent and the community. Be square and obey the scout oath. Move to strike.
So are we taking
So
these
what
out
are
or?
we-
E and F.
Wait a minute.
What?
You're saying strike E and F?
Yeah,
E and F.
why?
What?
I wouldn't support that.
Huh?
I would not support that.
Okay.
I mean, it's
Well,
important.
what do you think, Mel?
Why do you think it's important? I just wanna hear other people's opinion.
Go ahead, Dr. Cross.
Why do you think it's important?
Well, I think,
I think it's soft.
As a policy, I'm talking from a policy standpoint, yeah.
If you wanna keep it in, that's fine with me, but I think it's amateurish. All right, forget the move to strike. G,
Are you
approval.
talking F now,
Huh?
right? Talking F, right? No, he was talking F before. You gonna
He
keep
was
F?
E, he was talking E
E
and
and
F.
F.
So we're keeping both now, correct?
G, approve an organizational pattern for the administration.
Like he's doing for organizational charts, yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm just hung up, I'm
Pattern is a
stuck at the
pattern.
word pattern, that's all.
We'll change it to
structure might be a better word.
Yeah, structure
Structure,
sounds a
yes.
lot better.
Pattern sounds like we're dressmaking.
It does.
You're dating yourself.
I had
Now,
one there
that is
too.
not superfluous,
I never
because
liked to.
we have never seen changes in the organizational structure until we happened upon them in the website. Okay, so, establish salary schedules and other personnel policies.
We're responsible for that, although we don't do it.
Yeah, we don't do that.
Right, so I mean,
Another personnel policy, why are they signaling out,
that one.
singling out personnel policies for
No,
change?
salary's
It
good.
doesn't, probably someone at the table hadn't spoken yet, so they throw that person a bone and put one in. I move to strike H. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Okay. Strike H. Receive and review reports of the superintendent concerning the progress of the schools. I don't buy that. Wendy.
I want to ask you something. Okay, so under about established salary schedules and other personnel, under established salary schedules.
Number H,
We've
letter
struck-
H.
Yeah, but I want to point something out here.
Yeah.
Under 59-1990, general powers and duties of school trustees, employ and discharge teachers. Employ teachers from those having certificates from the State Board of Education, fix their salaries, and discharge them when good and sufficient reasons for so doing present themselves, blah, blah. And reaching a decision as whether or not to employ any person qualified as a teacher, consideration be given to these factors.
I would say it's implied that the delegated
And the
responsibility
superintendent, yeah,
onto the
I mean, we would
superintendent.
write everything that we have assigned to the superintendent if you're gonna do that.
But Alice brings you all the
Personal
ratification
Right.
agenda, and you all approve it every month.
That's right, that's right.
You all do.
Yeah, we do.
Mhm.
You all do that. That's within your authority. And remember when you all had your board orientation, that was one of the items that Ms. Wall
But
talked to you
again,
about.
it's the same, I mean, my mind is the same thing.
I-
We do it because
Yeah.
that's what he's, I mean,
It's-
that's our job is to make
Well,
sure
we could
he's,
say that we approve salary
Yeah, we
schedules,
approve.
but Alice and the superintendent propose the salary schedules, right? We don't generate.
Indirectly.
we
You
don't
say
invent them.
approve.
Approve is a better word than
Right.
establish.
Even though that says fix their salaries and state,
Right.
approve,
you know,
because you have that
Okay,
authority.
so,
yeah.
That's your
So leave
authority.
H and change it to approve.
Approve. Okay.
That's pretty good. J is a regurgitation of 2.2. So, do we want to have that in there? It's redundant.
Just function as a board rather than as individuals.
I don't know why that's in there. It starts off by saying the board will do the following.
Does it address, in 2.2, is it addressing another topic rather than specifically board superintendent relationship?
It's governance commitment.
That's right. Function only as a board rather than individuals, I think has little to do with board superintendent relationships. So I'd say we can put it somewhere else if we really like it.
Unless he's interpreting it that way.
Gives you can't go tell them what to do.
That's,
And I
Right.
can't go tell them what to do.
Right.
We go tell them what to do.
exactly.
Right.
Well, fine, let's
That's how he,
That's how,
yeah, that's how he interpreted it.
So let's say direct the superintendent with board action as,
but that should be as a board, not,
Yeah.
that should be as a board, right?
Exactly.
Right,
All
not
11
individual.
of you
Yeah.
together,
Right.
providing
That's a
some direction
biggie.
versus
So
one
I think it's
person
fine the way
coming
it is.
in and,
that's correct, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So you think it's okay the way it is?
That's,
'Cause that
that's
tells us
fine, yeah.
Yeah, it tells
Because
us-
when you interpret it,
that that's-
you know, down
Doing
to
it
the
as a-
line, it takes away that individuality of being a board. We better have that written somewhere.
All right, just to consider this.
Further down it is.
How about provide direction only as a board rather than as individuals? And go back up to what the title of the section is,
That's good, provide direction.
okay?
Well, if you look at Roman numeral 7, it says, the board will provide direction to the superintendent through actions, direction, decision, or guidance from a majority of the board or a board committee. Superintendent is not expected to follow directions of individual board members, officers, or committees unless the board has specifically delegated such exercise of authority.
So in a way, I don't know, in that one, David,
Mhm.
maybe in that first sentence, or a board committee should be removed.
Or I'm just saying that
Yeah.
on this one, you've got it later also, because it does need to be said, because we have issues.
Yeah.
So Jay will say, we'll provide directions as a board rather than an individual.
Well,
Rather than as individual.
based on that, I would say that it's to strike J because Roman numeral 7 clearly and thoroughly discusses that. That's much better than, I think it's much plainer.
I think the only clarification in 7 is, whether a committee can do
Yeah.
the same thing that the overall board can do.
Yeah, I think that's not so good.
Right.
So I think, as I mentioned, in 7, take out in that first sentence, the superintendent through actions, directions, decisions, or guidance from a majority of the board, just strike or board committee. And then,
Gotcha.
because the committee can only do that if the board has given them
Right.
that.
They can only
ability.
recommend to the board that the board do it.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Good.
So we're striking J and
Strike
and
J.
relying on 7.
Strike
Yeah.
J.
Okay.
Oh, we're striking J, okay.
Okay.
Because it's more defined in 7.
Oh, okay, all right.
K, communicate with staff members through the superintendent. Anybody got anything on that?
I think
I
that's,
think we got to remind some board members that
oh, yeah,
that's.
that's
Exactly.
I think it's a good idea. Everybody works for the superintendent. We should go through him. Okay? Oh my God, look at this. Okay.
that's right.
I'm sorry.
No profanity.
Remember that schools exist for the benefit of the students and the community. Move to strike. I think this was a Mother's Day page. I remember spending time on this.
Remember this.
Move to
You might
strike
say
L.
that the schools
Yeah,
exist for the benefit of the staff too.
Can we
Absolutely.
get some background music to play
No
for
way
this
you can
this
measure it.
page?
Wait a second.
Strike L.
Wait a second.
I just want to point out some statutory law to you.
Okay, thank you.
Under general powers and duties of school trustees, 1990. Okay, you as the board provide suitable schoolhouses,
Yeah.
okay, as well as other circumstances to promote the educational interest of the district. You promulgate rules and regulations concerning scholastic standards of achievement, standards of conduct and behavior. You control school property, you visit schools, you control the educational interest of the district with the exclusive authority to operate or not operate, manage and control the local educational interests of the district, charge matriculation and incidental fees, and that was just cited with a uniform. There've been some changes to the uniform grading policy that I'm going to send out to everybody that came at the end of June, and to talk about that in there. I don't know exactly what's changed, but that statute cited transfer and assign pupils to schools to promote the best interests of education, prescribe conditions for attendance, got that, and then the fees, so, provide school-age childcare programs and facilities. So those are your statutory responsibilities and
Okay.
responsibilities and your power, really.
But they don't say
What
to
does that have to
remember
do
that
with
schools
L?
exist
Yeah.
for the benefit of the students in the community.
No, they say to promote the educational interest.
Okay, move to strike
You
L.
know.
The word remember means to strike right away.
Remember, that's,
Yeah. So the word remember means to strike. You're gonna strike it because how you gonna judge that? How you gonna gauge that? Who's gonna? So all the board members.
Okay, M, hear appeals of school employees and citizens of the community from decisions of the superintendent.
well, actually, you've got that statutory authority for
To the hearing
if
officer.
there may be a hearing, you do have a hearing officer, but you would make the ultimate decision regarding your termination.
But citizens
So that's
can
it.
come and appeal a decision of the superintendent
Mhm.
in through that policy, that hearing officer policy?
I don't know if it's, I thought that was about termination of certified staff, certified and classified staff.
It was
I don't remember
dismissal.
anything
That's coming
about
up.
dismissal of teachers, I don't remember anything about
We've also
citizens of the
had
community.
hearings on students.
Robin,
I was gonna say, you've
Okay,
done,
that's
you have done
citizens.
hearings on students.
Right, so I
Where
guess
the board had to hear
Right.
it, and so if you had a hearing officer, you could have the hearing officer hear the dismissal of the student.
Or suspension, the
Okay.
suspension of
Because
students.
they appealed.
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
But that would be
Okay,
in
so-
students,
That
not.
would-
So
It
when we
says
say
citizens.
hear appeals, it's, whether we use a hearing officer or not is not consequential to that statement. So we do hear appeals even if it's through a hearing
Right.
officer.
School appeals,
Okay.
I mean, here,
Correct.
school employees and
All right.
students.
And present the needs of the
So
school.
should that be students as
Yeah,
opposed to
don't you think we
citizens?
should say students
It
instead
seems
of
like-
citizens of the
Citizens
community?
Citizens probably acting on behalf of the students.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it.
Well,
You have an appeal on the busing decision.
right.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
A citizen, I believe, can appeal anything that the board has decided within its purview.
Okay. So do you think we should say school employees, students, and citizens? I don't know, okay, if you think it's probably, okay.
I don't think you need students at all.
Okay. Present the needs of the schools to the citizens of the community. Well, that's being done, I hope. Adopt school standards, textbooks, and annual school calendar. Well, we do a code of conduct, we approve we look at the AR for the student code of conduct. We're not in Texas, so we don't approve textbooks.
Yes, you do.
And-
Yeah, we
Yes,
do.
you
Yes,
do.
you do.
Yes,
Huh?
you do.
Yes, we do. We do.
Robin,
you do.
explain, yeah, go ahead.
We approve all textbooks?
Yes.
You get a list that comes to you
Yeah.
once a year, and in
Yes.
fact, you just had some other textbooks
Right.
that.
Yes.
course-
Oh, okay.
And you approve your course catalogs.
We don't do it with a lot of.
Yes,
We don't do a lot of vetting. That's another story, but
All right.
We do it too.
that's our responsibility
It is
to do
responsibility.
that.
All right, so that can, all right, that can stay.
You rely on the recommendation, John, that's what we do.
Fine.
Yeah, that's
The
right.
superintendent will do the following: administer effectively and provide the professional education leadership necessary to what?
Well,
All-
it seems like it should keep going there.
All district employees are responsible directly or indirectly to the superintendent.
Who would be indirect to you?
Anybody below staff level,
I'm
if you've got a
assuming-
Oh, I
boss
see what you're saying,
I'm
yeah.
assuming that means that it
in
rolls up.
between you and
I
the
see,
superintendent,
I'm assuming that means it rolls up.
Yeah.
chain of command, that's it.
Yeah.
What happens after necessary and A, administer effectively provide
I don't know why that's in there.
necessary to,
Effectively and provide
You want to-
professional. I mean, that's just defining.
Necessary.
necessary.
Necessary to what? That's, the sentence is incomplete.
Just take out necessary.
Yeah, just take
Take out
out-
How about-
necessary and say provide professional educational leadership in the district, I don't know.
Yeah, just take out necessary.
Okay. Provide professional education leadership.
Promulgate district administrative
Just put in the
regulations
district.
consistent with and in furtherance of board policies. I'll buy that. Implement board policy effectively through an efficient administration. I think that's a given.
Yeah. That's a hope.
Right.
Thank you.
So, do we want that as a policy?
I don't remember.
You can do that.
Do you want that in there?
Yeah.
Prepare and submit an annual budget to the board for consideration. Can we have approval rather than consideration? Or consideration and approval?
For review and approval.
Yeah, how about review and approval?
Review and approval.
Hmm?
Review and approval.
Review and approval.
Okay. Keep the board informed on financial matters, use sound long-range planning, and keep current expenditures within the approved budget. Okay. Cue the music. Deal always in an ethical, honest, straightforward, open, and above-board manner with the board, the staff, and the community.
It's like you have for the
Mhm,
board,
it's the same.
the same thing.
Huh?
It's the same as the
Same thing as
board
the-
members have.
The
Right,
reciprocal.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Make assignments for each position with the board's authorization. That's kind of unclear. Each position?
Well, maybe that's the personnel ratification report.
Yeah. Recommend personnel policies for adoption and be responsible for assignment of all personnel. Sure, you can recommend policies. We adopt them.
And the T and H and G. I mean, and y'all help me understand why G
Oh, I
is there.
skipped, I'm sorry.
Why is G there if H is there?
I was looking at H.
I know, but you already went past G.
I know. Make assignments for each position with the board's authorization. Now, the personnel ratification just hires them to the district. Does nothing about.
Or terminates them, or
Right,
resigns them.
but it does not assign them.
Yeah, it does, because it says what position they're in. Like
Principal,
whether they're a middle
director,
school teacher or
or
a science
director.
teacher, or it assigns them.
Okay, I was taking it and assigned them to Whale Branch
Oh, no,
Middle
no,
as
no.
opposed to Bluffton Middle.
No, but it puts
Okay.
them at.
All right. Recommend personnel policies for adoption and be responsible for assignment of all personnel. If he's responsible for assignment of all personnel, why does the previous one require the board's authorization?
I mean,
It seems kind of redundant.
that's what I'm saying.
It seems redundant,
So,
kind of G and
yeah.
H.
It's about
Yeah.
the same thing. I
Right,
mean,
so strike H,
What do you think, Wendy?
Maybe straight G.
I want to strike G.
strike G,
Yeah.
okay. Strike G and keep H, all right. Provide accurate and complete reports to the board regarding the progress of the schools, okay? Good. Deal with the board as a whole rather than as individual members.
So, we talked the other day about, I don't know if we talked about it, but it's in the form about one-on-one dialogue and communication with everybody. That's dealing with everyone individually. But I think in terms of
The
decision-making piece, it's the board as a whole, right? In terms of that.
Board
That's
action.
the way I see that.
Board action equals vote, no action.
This is a little weird, Jay.
Huh?
Jay is a little strange.
Mr. Strickler's hand is up, so.
So deal with the boards. Oh, I'm sorry, David, go ahead.
Have we eliminated our approval of the ratification report?
Because that's what G is.
Huh?
I said that was what G would be.
Yeah.
Well, we gotta put
H.
feedback.
H just says,
I just think we should be careful,
Yeah, we should.
Okay.
because it's not under the board to do
Okay.
the following.
I got you.
The superintendent.
Yeah.
Okay, keep
So
G in
keep
there.
G in. You're right, Mr. Strickler, you're right.
So did we keep J as it is, or are we gonna smooth that out a little bit?
Because he can have one-on-one conversations. It's
Oh, I
just
know,
that-
so that's why deal
Yeah,
with the
it's-
board is
it
really
sounds
ambiguous.
strange. Yeah.
Ambiguous.
What did you say?
Respond to
I heard
board.
deal.
Deal sounds funny.
Yeah, it does.
Deal with the
sounds
board
funny.
sounds funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that more about making recommendations to the board, to make them as a whole?
How about work with the board as a
Execute decisions made by board action. Or implement decisions made by the board as a result of board action, rather than as individual, rather than by individual members. Does that make sense?
It makes sense up to rather than
Hmm?
individual members. I don't know why you have to have that. I mean, if the charge is that he is going to only implement what the board,
Mhm.
maybe you want to own it, but he can't
How about
implement things.
implement decisions only,
Yeah,
implement only decisions made by the board as a result of board action?
that's good.
And then you can have as many conversations, as many phone calls, as many emails.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make more sense.
Except though, there are decisions that I would make on a day-to-day that fall under the purview of the superintendent to make that may not require board action, right?
You already had.
Oh, well,
You know what I mean?
yeah, but we have,
had board
rather than
action.
as an individual members, it's
When
still
you-
what's
Well, you could
needed.
say
Six is
execute.
day-to-day operation.
You could say execute, not
Just-
instead of deal, but maybe execute the
Decisions
decisions made
resulting from
the
board
board
action.
action.
Okay,
That sounds a little more, so that
That's
would,
good.
yeah, impinge. upon-
Execute the decisions
Execute
of board
decisions.
action,
execute
the decisions.
decisions resulting from board action.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
As a whole rather than as individual members.
I would assume board action means that that's the board voting as a.
Yeah.
as a-
That's right.
Right, you don't need to add anything else to it.
Yeah, you have to have individual members on there at all.
As a whole, period.
Execute the decisions resulting from
From
board action.
period. So
Yep.
take the right, okay.
Ensure necessary staff communication through the superintendent with the board.
to have the staff communicate with us appropriately. I think that's what to say.
Yep. I wanna take it.
All right, this is the superintendent will do the following. Ensure necessary staff
Okay, but I don't
communication.
need those words.
Huh?
But I don't need is through the superintendent in there. NK, I mean, because you already got the superintendent doing this. You know what I mean? I mean, it's automatically it's gonna be done through the superintendent, but any kind of,
How about ensure necessary staff communications to the board through the superintendent's office?
But you have
Just
staff
to the
members who
board.
communicate with you directly,
just to the board.
that then come through the superintendent's
Yeah.
office, like he will delegate, Tanya would send, Tanya sends you all information on a regular basis.
Now, if I do that, that's through the superintendent's office
Right.
to Tanya,
Yes.
right?
Mhm. No,
Because you've given that direction.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, how about ensure necessary communication between the staff and the board? But you're ensuring it, so you can ensure it any way you want. You can say go through you, or you can say contact the staff member. Right? I know what you're gonna say, but I mean, we have to do this for whoever is superintendent.
Tell me, I'm interested in others weighing in on that, on your thoughts of how it's been
give it once.
All communications to the board come through you.
through.
Right.
You can delegate something
Yes.
if you want,
I thought that's what
but
we.
you're responsible. Just like you are responsible for all staff, you're responsible for
That's
everything.
fine.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
So kind of like, dear Dr. Rodriguez, please have somebody provide the following information.
Mhm.
So we don't have to pick who does it
Right,
or recommend who does it.
right.
Just you do it,
Right.
and you
You
choose who
decide.
does
Yeah,
it.
perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
This stays as is.
K then would read, the focal point for communications between the board and staff?
I think you
Or
just
do you want to
leave
leave
it.
staff out of it altogether and say we communicate with the superintendent? And then he decides whether or not he's going to answer it or a staff person's going to answer it.
So can I just ask a question? So for example, if a teacher is summarily suspended, then when I receive the order from the Department of Education, from the state board, then I would email it to all the board members, and I, of course, Dr. Rodriguez would be copied, but I wouldn't give Deborah more work. Dr. Rodriguez is, you know what I'm saying? I try to like,
Yeah,
I try to like streamline whenever I can, or say I've been in general session courts and I have some public information to give you all. Then I would send it to you and copy Dr.
that's the deal
Rodriguez.
you work out with him.
Yeah,
Right.
Steve,
Yeah, and I think
because
it's
you don't
fine
want
the
me
way
to
it
keep
is.
whirling around. I mean, Deborah
I
would
think
be shocked.
ultimately, you're not really
Yeah.
interested, in getting you the information you're
Just so
asking
you
for.
get the
It's
information.
just, that's up to us to
Because-
sort out.
Yes, and give it
When
to
they
you
start
all.
acting.
I believe what we passed was that superintendent informed the board of any, oh no, that's from the.
That has to do with the State
Excuse me.
Department memos or whatever.
I think.
Right, or like I get something from the State Department, I'll send it on and copy Dr. Rodriguez. Like,
I
you
think,
from Grady
yeah,
possibly
I
to
think
send
that's another
send it to
issue
me
of
from someone else, you know?
the procedure in which
Yeah.
these things gonna be done. But whatever is gonna be done, it's gonna be, already been worked out in terms of what, how you want it done. In terms of how we agree to have you do it.
But he's always responsible.
Right, you're
He's
responsible.
responsible.
But-
You can
but-
have whatever-
Once, yeah, once you say, yeah, she can do that directly to us, and we can maybe directly go to her, and
And copy him,
Copy
so he knows
you.
we're doing it, we're
then
we're
that's,
completing
yeah,
it.
that's the language, that's the relationship we're looking for.
Okay.
However, and I think it's an important point, if you tell us to go to a certain person, and that person doesn't do it, we go to you,
Yes.
not the person, not the staff member, correct?
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
All right,
So
again,
case stays as it is?
focal point for communication.
Beautiful.
Well, the problem with that is conceptually, as far as we're concerned, the staff doesn't exist, right? We're asking the superintendent.
So just
So-
leave it.
Huh?
So just leave K
Yeah.
the way it is. I think it's fine.
Yep.
Because it says the superintendent will ensure necessary staff communication
Yep.
through himself
Completely.
and the
Yep.
board. Yeah.
Okay, so we keep K. Okay. Remember that schools exist for the benefit of the students and the community.
That was like gal above.
Love that. Make
So we're
decisions in
taking
line
it
with,
away, right?
what?
We're taking it away like
Yeah.
we took it away up there, okay.
Make decisions in line with board policy.
In compliance or in accordance, in line with,
Make decisions in line with board policy. Appeals from such decisions may be heard and decided by the board. Okay? Plan means of keeping the community informed about school matters. Serve as a representative of the schools before the public. Makes sense. And last but not least, recommend for board action standards, textbooks, and annual school calendar.
So what did you
And we're
change on
adjourned.
M?
So it seems
Take
like
it back.
it should be make decisions in compliance with board policy. In line sounds weird.
Yeah.
Make decisions in
compliance is a better word.
compliance?
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody adopts them.
We're adjourned.
That's so moved.
We're adjourned. See you all next week. Thank you very much, everybody.
So
Good
we're
discussion.
Monday.
can we meet here next week, is that okay?
Huh?
Can we meet here next week,
No,
next
we'll
Monday?
be at Bluffton Middle, correct? Or do we know yet?
It's wherever you all tell me to find.
She's making a request.
I'm making a request because I have to go out of town on Monday night, and as soon as the meeting's over, I've got to drive up to
So
Columbia.
where do you want to meet?
Could we meet here, is that
Yeah,
okay?
sure,
Would it be okay
sure.
with you all? Thank you, that would help me a lot.
No
'Cause I-
problem.
Thank you.
Very
I'll be
easy.
writing it down.